I'll answer it two ways. First, I'm going to break it into two different questions. So first, let's talk about brake regeneration in Nissan Leaf. So the first concept to bring to that, if you're in stop and go, it's actually you have higher range on an electric vehicle, especially one that has, if you're in eco mode, with complete brake regeneration. And proof of concept of that, we can go first an anecdotal story, but just a real life story that everybody saw. The Pikes Peak vehicle. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with that. But basically, we took a Nissan Leaf. It's stock. It was all normal. And they raced it to the top of Pikes Peak. And it got all the way up to the top with a big, I believe it was 5% of range left.
7 miles left on it.
7 miles left on it. So that's what it had. Now, when it got down to the bottom, how much range did it have? No, that would be great if brake regeneration, if it gave you a 100% cycle. This would be a home run. That's sustainable energy. It had 41. So through brake regeneration, because coming down, stop and go, it recouped that much power and had 41 miles after it expended all those miles without ever connecting to an energy source. So in stop and go, that's what you get. So you're not using much. The second answer to that question is when you're stopped, you're not expending any energy at all. So you only expend energy in a Leaf if your foot is on the pedal, and that's it. If you have the air conditioning on, you're going to be expending energy. If you have the heater on, you're going to be expending energy, but not driving the car is what I'm referring to.
But that's not going to diminish the range?
It will, but in those situations, not to a huge amount. If you have now, I mean, I will tell you, one of the things about the, say what? No, but I have a sad story about 66 if you want to go into it. Where it is used to be my playground. So we won't go there. You're bringing up sad stories of my youth, but let me expand on that to answer your question. If you talk about the heating system in the vehicle, so the idea with cold weather and the heating system is to get it started before you get in the vehicle. So, and think about the comfort and convenience packages. And our engineers did a fabulous job in this, especially when they looked at ergonomics and vehicle use. So they did some tests with a vehicle that had heating in it, the heating package in it that we have today for cold weather, and one that did not. So you know the typical behavior when you get into a cold car is you go in there and you crank the devices to on. So we saw that and we witnessed that in Leaf, that it was a cold weather, it was 30 degrees. They did that. Then we did the same test with consumers with the heated steering wheel and the heating seats where the environment appeared to be warmer to the touch. No one cranked the heat. Everybody put the heat on an acceptable, usable level to warm the car, and it instantly warmed up. Now, there's a big difference in battery depletion if you're going to one of these things where you guys know it, where you crank all the way and you're driving and you put your hands out there and you're going, I got to warm up. So the comfort and convenience packages have really added a lot to that so that you don't get the big issue. And heat, it takes a little more from the battery than air conditioning do. So when we say that, there's a little less worry with AC and a little more worry with heat, but if the interior of the vehicle is warm, it becomes less of an issue.
What happens if gas goes back under $3 a gallon?
If gas goes back under $3 a gallon.
I just saw a pig fly past the
Yeah.
There's
Well,
a lot of factors that way.
and
Drive the price down.
it's a great question, and I'll go to the owners again. And so, and I'll go on a quote that, the first slide you saw up there were some owners we went out and engaged right after the first sales went on in January primarily of last year. We went out and did another group of interviews, and we did another one, and we did another one, and all the owners repeated one thing. They didn't say that, they said, I have no idea what the price of gas is, and I don't care. And if you take that soundbite from their mouths, and I don't care, I don't want to know what the price of gas is, it's sort of a different mentality, because then if you blend in all their reasons for adopting the vehicle, and we talked about who they are, because they're a blend of all of the above. They want off foreign oil, so that's really not the price of gas. They don't like the dependence. They're green, so they don't really care about the price of gas. They just want off it to begin with. They're technologists, so I'm not really interested in. I'm interested in this technology. So why I think as you move more to a pragmatist model, you're going to have more of that sensitivity from the value equation. I think what we're seeing out of the consumers right now is it's not that big of an issue. If gas goes down below, well, great, but we know what the ceiling is. It's $140 a barrel, and we all saw when we got there. So the question is it going to go back to the ceiling or not? I can't predict. I don't know.
But if consumers, your consumers of Leaf are truly pragmatists, then does Nissan offer any cost comparison for the Leaf and other viable alternatives, whether they're ICE or not? For instance, you could even look within your own fleet and see how much it costs to buy a Nissan Versa as opposed to a Nissan Leaf. And if I'm a pragmatist and I want to keep money in my pocket over the long haul, at this point I buy the Versa, not the Leaf.
So the question is, what that goes to is the total cost of ownership. So have we done any equations on that? And we have those ready to launch on our website. And we're going to put those out in January. And what they look at is your total value equation over everything you do with your vehicle. Not just the price of gas, but the cost of oil changes, the cost of service, the cost of everything over the time you own it. We're calculating all that. The preliminary data looks pretty good. As opposed to, right to your question, as opposed to looking at just electric vehicles, we're looking at what competes in that segment for size, drivability, et cetera, putting a value on it for getting an EV, but then putting that out. So we'll have that data. I can tell you it looks promising, and in several areas it looks even better just based on some incentivization, et cetera.
I know when you buy one of these cars, is the $7,500 tax rebate, is it?
Incentive.
Credit. What if President Mitt Romney eliminates that credit?
Well,
Will that affect on sales? How many people buy it because of the tax credit or how does it affect?
currently, Dave is probably a better person to answer that, but it's funded right now through 2016 by OEM to the matter of 200K units. They're looking at some changes to it, but it's more from the administration perspective, not administration of the program, not to the actual funding. So it'll be there. What they might change the 200K number to a different number, allow it to sunset. Those are what they're working. But the funding of the 75K, the 7,500, is there through 2016.
And our expectation is that the government incentive is not a permanent situation. We don't expect as a manufacturer that will always be there. We expect it to help aid the adoption of the vehicles until we get to a point where we have more mass production and more mass proliferation of the vehicles in consumer hands, and then the vehicle and Nissan as the manufacturer needs to be able to sustain the market from a value perspective without that.
Will the price go down of the scale of economy?
Depends on consumer demand.
No, but I mean, if you get a big consumer demand, will the price of batteries and stuff then begin to go down because you got more?
I think it's general economics you would expect it to, but that will depend on demand and the number of vehicles we sell. I mean, right now we're producing roughly 50,000 globally. We have the capacity to produce. When we open the factory in Tennessee next fall, we'll be able to produce up to 150,000.
How do you deal with dealer anxiety? I gather the Leaf is pretty much maintenance-free, except for the powertrain. I mean, yes, the rolling wheels and bushing. So how do they sell the Leaf? What's their incentive of selling, pushing the Leaf?
Obviously for all the standard reasons. While the service business, there's still service business on it, because our dealers still sell wiper blades. They still sell tires. You need tires on a Leaf. They will perform the battery health check on the vehicle, which is recommended once a year. And there'll be other service, but there's no oil changes. And they realize that. And I think our dealers are finding out, and especially the much more progressive ones, and then the rest will come along. There's other things they're looking at. They want to, right now the dealers aren't involved in EVSE. So long term, they'll find ways to be involved in that value chain. So for the electric vehicles, long term, it is the things associated which will have a different value equation from the dealers than your traditional ICE model. And that's where they're beginning to learn how they can add more value to the equation in different ways than traditional service income, while at the same time they'll still have some, just not as much.
You talked about the Leaf having its own self-diagnostic capability. What is the battery health check that a dealer would do that's different from what the car can automatically do for itself?
It goes to a different level, where the battery, you'll get the basic performance, key performance indicators out of the telematics system. it's going to dive deep into each cell, check each cell, each module, give you a complete history of it, tell you if there's any problems. So it'll take a much deeper dive down into the, for lack of a better word, the heart and soul of the battery unit itself. And that's what a Consult 3 Plus does, and that's the unit that looks at it. And it'll also diagnose the vehicle's interaction with the other componentry on the vehicle to make sure everything's working fine there. So if you have a chip or some piece of programming, there's a lot of software involved with the Nissan Leaf, isn't optimal, it'll give you a recommendation on how you push firmware or software to it to make it more optimal at that time.
You guys have placed some big bets on this technology. You've got the factory coming online with another 150,000 units of capacity. What are you seeing from the people who are buying them today or the people who are thinking about buying them in the future that suggest to you that there's some depth to the demand for EVs that will accommodate sales of 150,000 additional units?
There's a couple things that I see. One is competition. Competition isn't pulling out of the market, they're going into the market. Ford has their Fusion coming out. Chevy has an excellent product in the Volt with the plug-in hybrid, which is validating the electric vehicle all on its own. Toyota's coming to market, BMW is coming to market, VW, Audi is coming to the market, Hyundai has plans, and we can talk about the boutique cars such as Tesla and BV and everyone. So when I see this pie beginning to expand. And as Ford and Chevy and Toyota and BMW and Mercedes, for that matter, who are all coming into the market, they validate this concept. The pie is going to grow. And we've seen that with other technology time and time again. You know, the electric vehicle, it's not the standard type of thing we see with an ICE car. But, you know, what I like to refer to a lot from the theory of diffusion of innovation, as this innovation becomes more and more accepted, you increase the people that adopt the technology. As the consumers keep coming back in and saying, this is my everyday car. This is a fun to drive, easy to use vehicle, and it's cost effective for me, and we like it. We like what the vehicle does for the environment. We like being off foreign oil. That'll keep getting validated. And our first 8,000 plus, then our first 16,000 and 20,000, and then Fords and Toyotas and Chevys and anyone else that combined together are going to continue to grow that segment. You know, it started years ago with the Prius. And look what we are, and we saw how a Prius evolved this segment completely to how many hybrids do other OEMs have to offer today. So that's where I see it going.
Can't sell them.
Prius is doing pretty good with Toyota overall.
Nobody else can sell hybrids.
I would say that Toyota does very good on hybrids, and Ford is doing very well on hybrids. And Chevy is doing very well with the Volt thus far. So we might agree to disagree on the statistic there, but I'd say the hybrid market is alive and well based on where it started at and where it is today. And we see the same growth, if not better, with electric vehicles. Yeah.
So you're looking forward with electric vehicle technology. That's one alternative. Does Nissan plan to explore or invest in any other alternative technologies?
They do. They're exploring all options right now from an RD perspective. Which one is going to rule the day and come out either equal to EV technology or better remains to be seen. But like every OEM out there, we're fully investigating what all the options are. There's not one solution to anything. So there'll be lots of solutions out there, some that we'll offer, some that other OEMs will offer as we expand the way that we design vehicles and what fuel they use, et cetera. But we are investigating other options.
When you say that